He hadn't heard a single note in 6 years, and tonight he wrote his greatest symphony, Vienna 1820. The greatest composer who ever lived cannot hear a single note he writes, and yet tonight the music has never felt more real. So settle in, pull the blanket closer, and let the silence carry you. Vienna breathed differently at night. During the day, it was all performance. Carriage on cobblestones, market vendors calling across crowded squares, the distant orchestras rehearsing behind tall windows. But at night, Vienna exhaled. The carriage thinned, the vendors went home, the orchestras fell silent, and the city became something quieter, something more honest. Snow had been falling since early evening, not heavily, not dramatically, just consistently. The quiet kind of snowfall, the kind that accumulates without annoying itself, settling on window ledges, covering cobblestones, gathering on the shoulders of a few people still moving through the street below. From his apartment window on the third floor, the city looked like a painting, soft, muted, every sharp edge rounded by snow, and every harsh sound absorbed. The street lamps burned with warm amber halos, their light catching the falling flakes, each one briefly visible, then gone. He watched for a moment, the way he always watched things now, not with his ears, with everything else. The weight of the air, the quality of light, the particular stillness that deep snowfall brought to a city. And he noticed all of it, filed it away somewhere useful, then turned back to the desk. The apartment was not grand, not for a man of his reputation, not even for the composer whose name was spoken with reverence in every concert hall from Vienna to London to St. Petersburg. But he had never cared about grandeur. One thing he cared about is function, about space, quiet. The room reflected exactly that. A large oak desk dominating the center, its surface covered in manuscript paper, some covered edge to edge in the notation, some bearing only a few lines, some crumpled, some smooth, carefully back out and used again. The fire burned steadily in the corner, not roaring, not dramatic, just consistent. A good fire, a working fire, the kind built by someone who understood that the warmth was a tool, not a luxury. Two tall candles burned on the desk, their flames perfectly steady in the still air, and no drafts reached this room. The snow outside had sealed the world, made everything still, made everything contained. Between the candles, a single glass of water, beside it, an air trumpet, brass, dented slightly on the one side, and a conversation piece to visitors, a daily frustration to him. He rarely used it anymore. The world had grown too quiet for it to help, and also the world had grown too quiet for anything to help. So he sat, creak, the old wooden chair accepting his weight with familiar protest. He had sat in this chair so many times that the wood had learned his shape, knew where to yield, where to hold firm, and he picked up the quill, dipped it in the inkwell, and looked at the manuscript paper before him. People misunderstood his silence. They thought it was emptiness. They thought that deafness meant absence, a removal of something essential, a subtraction. They were wrong. His silence was not empty, it was full, overwhelmingly full, more full than any concert hall he had ever sat inside, more full than the orchestra he had ever conducted, because the silence contained everything he had ever heard. Every note from every performance of his entire life lived inside that silence. Every instrument he had ever studied, every thunderstorm, every church bell, every street musician on every cobblestone street, in every city he had passed through, all of it preserved, all of it available, and all of it playing continuously inside a silence nobody else could care. The quill moved across the paper, slowly at first, feeling for something, the way a man feels along a dark wall looking for a door he knows is there. A phrase, four notes ascending, and he stopped, tilted his head, not listening with his ears, listening with something deeper, something older than ears, something that lived in the chest rather than the head. He modified the third note, raised it slightly, felt the difference inside. Yes, that. And the quill moved with more confidence now, finding its way into something real. He remembered the first time he noticed it, the silence creeping in the edge. He had been 30 years old, standing at a window not unlike this one, hearing rain on the glass, and then realizing he was not quite hearing it, more remembering it. The distinction was subtle, then unmistakable, then devastating. He had written letters, desperate letters, to his brothers, to his doctor, to himself in sealed envelopes he never sent. He had considered stopping more than once, more than twice, sitting at the same desk in similar candlelight and genuinely considering whether there was any purpose in continuing, whether music written in silence was really music at all, or just marks on paper, symbols without meaning, intentions without sound. He had sat with that question for a long time, and then one evening the answer arrived without drama, without revelation, simply as quiet certainty. The music was never in the sound was just the delivery. The music was in the space between the notes, in the tension of what came before and what came after, in the architecture of the silence and silence. He had more of than anyone. The quill moved steadily now, phrases building on each other, a melody emerging from the manuscript paper the way shapes emerge for fog, then undeniably. Sometime past midnight, he set the quill down, stretched his fingers slowly, the knuckles stiff from cold and concentrated work. He turned his chair slightly towards the fireplace, watched the flames. This was his habit. Every night at some point, a conversation with fire, not in words, in attention. And the fire was honest. It never performed, never tried to be more than it was. It simply burnt. A log settling deeper into the glow. He watched the patterns in the embers, deep orange, fading red. The occasional breeze blew at the base of the flame. He could feel the heat from there, not just on his skin, deeper, settling into tired muscles, into bones that carried 49 years of everything: Trump, failure, love found and lost and found again, friendship and betrayal, illness and recovery, and always the music. The music that never stopped even when the hearing did, the music that somehow grew louder, quieter in the world became. He thought about the symphony, the one that was almost done, almost but not quite, missing something in the final moment, something he had been circling for weeks. He could feel its shape, the way you can feel a word on the tip of your tongue without quite reaching it. There, but not yet. He turned back to desk, picked up the quill, dipped it in the ink, and wrote 3 notes, stopped, felt them. Yes, that was it. The door he had been feeling for, right there, hidden in the simplest place, the way important things always were. The candles had burned low by the time the movement was complete, wax running slowly down white stems, the flame smaller now, steadier. The fire across the room had quieted to deep embers, long pause. The manuscript pages were covered now, dozens of them. The chair, releasing him reluctantly, moved to the window one final time. The snow was still falling. The city perfectly still now, every lamp burning behind snow-covered glass. The street below empty, clean. He pressed one hand against the cold glass, felt the winter on the other side, vast and quiet and indifferent, the way the world had always been. And yet inside this room, in these pages on this desk, something had been made tonight that did not exist this morning. something that would outlast the snow, outlast this apartment, outlast him. He removed his hand from the glass, turned away from the city. The bed was in the corner, simple, a heavy mattress, thick wool blankets, a pillow worn soft with years of use. He sat on the edge, removed his coat, his boots, third, set them beside the bed with the careful habit of a man who had lived alone long enough to develop rituals, small rituals, meaningless to anyone watching, essential to him. He lay back, the blankets pulled up, heavy and warm, the fire across the room still breathing softly, the candles on the desk very low now, their light barely reaching the bed, just enough to see ceiling. Plain white plaster, a small crack running from the corner toward the center. He had looked at that crack every night for 3 years. The building settling, the way everything settled eventually, the way the body settled into sleep, the way the mind settled into silence, his particular silence, the one that contained everything. Outside, the snow continued falling, each flake landing without sound, covering the city one quiet layer at a time. Inside the apartment, the fire settled lower. The candles guttered gently. The manuscript pages rested on the desk in the dark, filled with music nobody could hear until morning. Music composed in complete silence. Music that would eventually be heard by millions of people in concert halls, and yet built in cities not yet imagined. Music that would make those future listeners feel exactly what he felt tonight. The warmth of a working fire, the satisfaction of honest work, the particular peace of a winter night when everything outside is soft and white and still, and the knowledge that somewhere in the silence something real was made, something true. So close your eyes, let the fire breathe for you, let the snow fall for you, let the silence fill with everything you ever loved, the way it felt for him when you finally stop trying to hear it and simply let it be there. Deep, still, warm.